Eagles are back for another round of OTA'S, and all I can say is Isaiah Rodgers. Holy crap! He looks good. He is turning heads at OTA'S. What a steal. Speaking of steals, Howie Roseman calculating calculations of the cornbread once again shows us why he is a genius. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Kick Dingbat here, and Howie Roseman once again shows why, when he calculates the calculations of the cornbread, the NFL is in trouble. 3 to 4 steps ahead of everybody else. Now everybody's saying that A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith contract extensions look like a bargain. And the Eagles hit the field for another round of OTA'S, and all I can say is this. When I see this team on the field, I can't wait for the regular season. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, before we get into it, a few things I want to talk about. First thing, I want to say happy birthday to my oldest daughter. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday, Bella. I love you. Your father loves you. We're gonna have some fun celebrating it tonight. She thought she was getting off school today for her birthday, but nobody could stay home with her, so she had to go to school. But it's her birthday nonetheless, and I wanted to say happy birthday. As I was saying, the A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith signings now look like a bargain, as all these wide receivers are starting to get paid even more money than those guys. Check this out. Adam Schefter's reporting. This just in. Miami and wide receiver Jalen Waddle reached an agreement today on a 3-year, $84.7 million contract extension that includes $76 million guaranteed per source. The deal makes Waddle one of the league's top 5 highest paid wide receivers. Now, Howie Roseman and Swoop Scoops pointed this out. He doesn't miss an extension. He doesn't miss anything. DeVonta Smith, he gets a 3-year, $75 million extension. Waddle, 3 years, $84 million. So the price is already going up, okay? And it's just crazy. So Ari says this. There are 5 NFL teams that are paying 2 wide receivers at least $20 million a season. Pound Dolphins, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Pound Eagles, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith. Texans, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. Bears, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. And the Bucks, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Out of that group, the Eagles clearly have the best tandem. DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown. Why? Because they're complementary. I think they both do different things very, very well. And you put that together, it's very scary. It really is. But once again, Howie Roseman shows you why it's so important to have a good GM. A guy that goes out and gets these extensions done early. We talked a lot about the DeVonta Smith signing. We all knew that he was going to get an extension. What kind of threw people, I guess, for a loop was the fact that they got one done for A.J. Brown. And that's smart. And I actually think that comes from the mistakes that they made with Terrell Owens. They knew they made mistakes with T.O. in the past, how they handled that contract. And what they did with A.J. Brown is they took care of him now while, before it becomes an issue. Get them both signed. And now you got 2 guys signed till what, 2028? So they're going to be together for several years. And because Howie Roseman got not just DeVonta Smith, but A.J. Brown done, it looks like a bargain. In 2-3 years, I don't even think you have to wait. I think right now, it's looking like a bargain. I mean, you could be the Dallas Cowboys, right? Look at the Dallas Cowboys. What a crappy team they are. They're sitting there. They got to pay Dak. They got to pay Micah. And now they got to pay CeeDee Lamb too. Now, CeeDee Lamb hasn't got paid yet. The Eagles got 2 extensions done with both their wide receivers. And all these other wide receivers are signing contracts. Waddle goes, what about Brandon Ayuk? What's he going to get? What's CeeDee Lamb going to get? What's Justin Jefferson going to get? Every time a player signs, another wide receiver signs and resets that market, it only drives up the price for CeeDee Lamb. So the Dallas Cowboys are making a huge tactical mistake, while the Eagles, they do the complete opposite. And this is why we always have cap room. People go, how could the Eagles have cap room every year? The funniest thing to me that I hear all the time is, you just wait a year or two when the Eagles have no cap space. It's going to be so funny. You know, I have heard that every year for the last 10, 15 years. And it never happens. The Eagles never have cap issues. And if they are a little tight, they just make a few moves and they're set. There is going to be no cap hell for the Eagles. They're 3-4 steps ahead of it. But Jalen Waddle signing a contract extension shows you the genius of Howie Roseman and this team, because they had both receivers signed already. What, for like a month now? And all of a sudden, it looks like a bargain. It looks like an absolute bargain. So Howie Roseman, once again, 3-4 steps ahead of everybody else. You got to love what he is doing, you know. I said this before. There are flaws about Howie Roseman. I don't think he's been the best guy at drafting. He has made certain mistakes. There's no question about it. However, I wouldn't trade him for any other GM in football, especially from a standpoint of making videos and doing YouTube, because he always gives me something to talk about. There's always something going on with him, and I like it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, okay? Not at all. Great move by the Eagles to get those guys signing. We are reaping the benefits right now, while Mark Holmes and the Dallas Cowboys cry, whine, go into hiding at the FBI in their WITSAC program, and then try to blame the rest of the world for their mistakes. Howie Roseman, keep doing your thing. Okay, so as you guys know, the Eagles were back on the field for OTAs, and this was an OTA that was open to the media, so they got to go out there, and everybody was asking one question leading up to today. Would James Bradberry be at OTAs? Would he show up? Nobody, I didn't think he would. I don't think a lot of people thought he would, but that was still the question. Here is who was not at Eagles practice. Days ago wrote this: Eagles not at today's volunteer practice. DeVonta Smith, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, James Bradberry, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and I know Lane Johnson was not there either. Here's the thing. You got to remember, these are voluntary practices. You don't have to show up for OTAs. Not these. These are voluntary. Now, next week, you have a mandatory minicamp. You'll see everybody show up for that. They'll have to show up for that. And if Bradberry is still on this team after Saturday and he doesn't show up, then you know something's up with that. I think a guy like DeVonta Smith probably is like, I have to show up for mandatory minicamp next week. I'm going to just rest this week and let them, okay? These are voluntary. I hate when people are like, yeah, it's voluntary, but they got to show up anyways. No, it's voluntary. Voluntary is voluntary, okay? And to me, what was really interesting about today's OTAs is what you're seeing out of the secondary. Isaiah Rodgers is a good player. I've told people this. Isaiah Rodgers is a player. He's a legit starting corner in this league. People don't think much of him, but they will by the time training camp is over. Believe me. And he showed up and he showed out today. So with no Slay and no Bradberry and no C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety, here was your starting secondary for today. Isaiah Rodgers, Kaylee Ringo, Johnny Ringo were your outside corners. Your nickel was Tyler Hall. Then you had Reed Blankenship and Avonte Maddox at safety. I am not a fan of Avonte Maddox at safety. I have never been a fan when he played safety before. I think he's a slot corner, and I don't like him at safety. But they got him backing up there right now. My guess is this: you got no Sidney Brown. And also, I think they don't want to put too much on Cooper DeJean right now. Cooper DeJean is playing in the slot, but he's also playing on the outside. Today, DeJean and Quinion were your outside cornerbacks for your second unit. Mekhi Gardner was a safety for with your second unit, and Mekhi Gardner had a huge pick on Kenny Pickett. Kenny flick it, he threw the picket. You know what I'm saying? So Kenny Pickett throws an interception, but we're not going to hear about that. Jalen Hurts threw an interception too, because guess what? He did. And guess who he threw an interception to? My boy, Isaiah Rodgers. That's right. Isaiah Rodgers Pick six on Hurts. Hurts intended a pass over the middle for Barkley. Isaiah Rodgers picked it off, and took it to the house. I think Isaiah Rodgers is going to be a good player. Now, the question is are they really committed to keeping him on the outside? If they are, then Bradbury's gone. He's gone. Because this kid, I'm telling you, Isaiah Rodgers is a player. People don't believe me, but he is. And he's going to show it this year. Now, I want him to play in the corner because I want to get Quinyon Mitchell out there. See, my dream is simple. You have Slay on the outside. You have Quinyon Mitchell as a rookie on the outside. You have Rodgers in the slot. Maybe that's not how they're going to go. It's hard to say. You know, like right now, you don't know how much is a feeling out process. So we'll see. But this secondary is deep. It is very talented. And it's very inexperienced. Now, I got laughed at yesterday on Jacob Media. They were laughing at me because I said that this secondary, by the end of the year, will be rated better than the Dallas Cowboys. Because some people think, for some reason, the Dallas Cowboys have some great secondary. I think Bland is overrated, to be quite honest with you. I could get 5 interceptions for touchdowns. You throw the ball the way they did to him. But that's a whole nother argument for another day, okay? But my feeling is that this secondary is young and talented. They just need to play. Now, DeJean had a nice pass breakup, had a nice one-handed catch on a crazy bouncing ball on a punt. Quinyon Mitchell had a pass breakup. I mean, look, these guys are young. Always texting me while I'm on here filming. Always, without fail, man, without fail. So, yeah, I think the secondary, I think they're coming along, man. I think they look very talented, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. Like I said, it looks like DeJean got work in the inside last week, especially. He's got work today on the outside. At some point in training camp, I'm almost positive we'll hear that he's taking snaps at the safety position. Isaiah Rodgers, guy looks like he's going to be a player. So the Bradbury watch is really underway because June 1st is what? Saturday? So we'll see. Now, at the linebacker position is another position I want to talk about. It looks like Zach Baun. It looks like he's got that inside track to starting outside, starting with Devin White. 2 off-the-ball linebackers, that's who it's been. Brandon Lee Gaunt wrote this. Zach Baun and Devin White, first-team linebackers again. Nakobe Dean was back taking part in 7-on-7 and rotated in with Baun. Now the question is are they just working him back in, or is Baun ahead of him? Now Baun had a pick himself. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they go about playing with the linebackers. It looks like Baun is starting with Devin White, and it's going to be kind of interesting. Chris Franklin wrote this: Jalen Hurts' pass to A.J. Brown was broken up and intercepted by Zach Baun. Zach Baun, playing inside linebacker, picks off Hurts' pass over with A.J. Brown over the middle. He juggled a few times and held it. So it looks like you got Baun, Devin White are your starting linebackers right now. We'll see what Nakobe Dean can do when he comes back and he plays. I'm not sure. I can't tell you right now at this point. Is Baun just in there because Dean isn't ready? It looks like if you look at what's happened the first 2 OTAs, then you look at what what Vic Fangio has said about him during a press conference a few weeks ago. Sounds like they like Baun. They want him to win that job. So keep your eye out, man. Keep your eye out. Okay, so a couple things to note here. One, it looks like Tyler Steen has the inside track at right guard. He was your starting right guard today. This isn't a surprise. He looks like he's going to get the first opportunity to win that job. And the Eagles, they did 7-on-7 drills today, but they also did 11-on-11 drills. Now, last week they didn't do 11-on-11 drills. And during it, you had Mekhi Becton. He was playing right tackle, starting for Lane Johnson. So that's pretty interesting because there has been talk about him playing playing guard. It looks like he's going to be your swing tackle. Now, during the 11-on-11 drills, you had Mekhi Becton at right tackle. Then you had Bryce Huff and Brandon Graham on the edge. Nakobe Dean comes in for Devin White. They took Devin White out during 11-on-11s. And then so it was Nakobe and Baun, the linebackers. And then your second unit corners, you had Quinion and Eli Ricks on the outside. And they move DeJean into the slot. So DeJean gets work in the slot as well on the outside. Not a surprise at all. And at one point, Brandon Graham, he made a great move on Becton, which would have been a sack. And also, a thin, slim, svelte-looking Jordan Davis would have had another sack. Maybe they said even possibly 2 sacks in this game. He's moving really, really well. He looks like he's in really good shape. But he would have had a sack if this was a real game as well. So it's good to hear that those guys are doing good. Oftentimes in these camps like the OTA'S, minicamp, even in non-tackling training camp, you don't really hear much from the defensive line because their roles are really diminished, it seems. You're not going to be able to get sacks on the quarterback. They're not tackling to the ground. So to hear those guys' names get called out, I think it's a good thing. A couple other guys I want to point out. John Ross, he had a nice catch, talked about how he felt it was a mistake to retire, and he knew once he did it, it was a mistake. So he's back. And then Paris Campbell, he talks about, his opportunity to come to Philly and take a shot, to kind of change his career. His career hasn't been quite what he expected. We know that the Eagles really liked him coming out of the draft. So, man, it's just a lot going on. It is. Now, next week, we're going to have mandatory minicamp, and we're going to get to see guys like DeVonta Smith, all those guys show up. We'll see what happens with Bradbury. But, at the end of the day, I think this secondary is fascinating to watch. These guys are so talented. They're young. They're obviously inexperienced. But I think they're going to become the strength of this defense as the year goes on. They're going to get better each and every week. And I stand by what I said. By the end of the year, they will have a better secondary than the Dallas Cowboys. It's just the fact, okay? And do not sleep on my man, Isaiah Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers is making plays already at camp. You wait till the season starts and we get to preseason. He is going to turn a lot of heads, no doubt about it. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision, baby. We're all just living in it. Jordan Davis about to wreak havoc. The guy being a svelte 350 pounds is taking everything serious because he said Vic Fangio puts up with no BS. And that's what I like to see. Cut out the juices. Cut out the donuts. Cut out the eggnog. But my gosh, seriously, did you see Jordan Davis? He looks fantastic. He looks absolutely fantastic, man. I can't believe he says he's 350 pounds. I thought he was like 330 or something like that. But he says he's actually lighter than he was a year ago. He doesn't have like any fat on him. Well, not that much. Geez, he looks really good. And he says they're gonna get a lot of playing time, a lot more snaps this year with Vic Fangio. And I love that he's taking it seriously. If you get what we think we're supposed to get from Jordan Davis, what we drafted from him in the first round. If we get that Jordan Davis, this league's in trouble because with him and Carter, they will dominate. Dominate. Denzel Washington out.
Oh, dude, what the fuck?
The Cooper! The flying
Oh my god! Oh my god!
C'est bon!
C'est bon!
I'm dizzy. We did it. We transformed the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. We now have a secondary that is going to be good for years to come. Because one, we got Quinion Mitchell, but we also got The Flying Frenchman, Cooper DeJean. That's right. The Flying Frenchman, Cooper DeJean. Says, Baun. Oh, here's another interception. That's right. Cooper DeJean is about to dominate the NFL. Can't wait to see him out on the field. And if you're like me and you thought this was a great move by the Eagles and you support this pick, then you definitely want to check out this shirt. The Cooper DeJean Flying Frenchman shirt. Look at this thing. You can see him in midair, flying through the air, transforming to an eagle. That's right. Cooper DeJean is here. Link is in the description. Get your shirt now while you can, because Cooper DeJean is about to take the Eagles to another level. Denzel Washington out.